Hi everyone, today we're going to do a piece of descriptive writing based at the Folly in Pontypool. Now the Folly is one of our local landmarks and I love to think about what it might have looked like in the past and what it may look like in the future. Today our task is on the Folly in the here and now, in the present day. And what I'd like you to do is try to have in front of you now a piece of paper, split it into 5 sections, and that's going to be your sensory placemat. So you're going to have a section for sights, a section for sounds, a section for taste and smell, a section for textures, and that's going to divide up neatly onto a piece of A4 paper. I'm going to give you a virtual tour of the Folly, and I'm going to talk you through some of the things that you might want to note down on your sensory placemat. Now the idea of the placemat is it's going to build your vocabulary so that you're going to be able to describe it in a piece of descriptive writing. So the better that you can get your sensory placemat, the better quality of the vocabulary, the better your eventual piece of writing will be. So we're going to walk through the road up to the Folly. I'm going to give you lots of ideas. Make sure you've got that placemat in front of you so you can write down lots of words as we go through the video.
Okay, so when we arrive at the Folly, the first thing you can see is this panoramic landscape view. We've got all of the hills and the mountains around us, and right on the horizon you can just see that sort of glimmer of a strip of the Severn River with the wind turbines on it, and then you can see the Folly right up ahead of this path. Now all along the path there's this kind of wall built of stone, and you can just see the texture of the stone here. Imagine running your finger over it, feeling the smoothness under your fingers, feeling the rough edges, the texture there. Now over the top of the wall you can see there are trees, you can see the grass and the fields, and you can see the kind of distance just laid out before you. Now there's this tree that's right before the Folly in the foreground. You might want to describe the branches. Obviously it's winter at the moment, so that it's really bare, and perhaps that gives the Folly a slightly ominous atmosphere. Now this is the doorway to the Folly, which is closed at the moment. This is the immediate view from the Folly. Now that's the munitions factory. That's the reason they demolished the Folly during the war. And once you look across here, I just love the way the sunlight just falls at different angles. You can see the town, you can see houses unfolding. Now there's a plaque on here for when they reopened the Folly, and here's the view of the whole tower. And you might want to describe how it looks against the backdrop of the clouds. I love the layers here of cloud, the different colours you can see in the sky. This is one of the windows. There's no glass in there now, but you might want to look at the texture of the stonework there. And again, this beautiful patchwork of fields in the distance. I love the way that there's a sense of history here and legacy, and a sense that the Folly is here watching all of these events unfold beneath.
Now I hope that watching that footage gave you a real sense of what it feels like to be there at the Folly, the things that you might be able to see. You'd have to use your imagination for the things that you might be able to hear. Sheep bleating perhaps, the distant hum of traffic in the valley below, maybe birds calling to one another. I think it would be helpful if you went back now over the footage again and rewind the video. If you want to mute me, I perfectly understand you wouldn't want to hear me talking again, but maybe this time mute the sound and imagine that you are there. It is your eyes seeing it, not just my camera, and really try to picture what would those experiences be like. Taste is always a tricky sense as well, but perhaps you could taste something in the wind, on the air. Could you smell anything on the air? If it helps, maybe going for a walk in a nearby field to where you live might just give you some real ideas for how to describe in more detail some of the really small, minute details of nature that you can see when you're outdoors. The descriptive paragraph, to be successful, needs to really immerse the reader and make the reader feel like they're there. And even if they've never been to the Folly, you should describe it in a way that makes it really vibrant and visible to a reader. Now, a successful descriptive paragraph, it isn't a story. You're not trying to tell a story, but don't forget to be using those literary techniques to really make your writing stand out. Using a good simile, a good metaphor, maybe even personifying the Folly Tower itself as a kind of human presence watching over Torvine. Try to be original rather than using cliches. A cliche is a simile or metaphor that's been heard a lot before, as cold as ice, as white as snow. You want to try and avoid cliche to make your writing stand out. Don't forget as well, with descriptive writing, you can choose whether to write in the present tense. That might give more sense of immediacy for the reader. You are there at the Folly. I walk towards the Folly. I smell, I see, I taste. That might really bring it to life. You can also use short sentences for effect, but don't forget to also use some more complex sentences. Experiment with your punctuation using semicolons, more advanced punctuation. All of that gives a real sense of tight control in your writing. Have a go and experiment. You only need to write one really good paragraph, but it's worth working hard at that one paragraph to get it just right. On your sensory placemat, you may now have built up a lot of different words. Watch the video again until you feel happy you have enough ammunition, if you like, for writing your paragraph. Don't be afraid of taking some time to check through your sensory placemat words. If there are any words on there that seem quite basic to you, highlight them, use an online thesaurus to look it up and find a replacement. Some of the words may not quite fit exactly, so you do have to be careful and check the meaning is still the same. Overall though, you need to try to use as broad a range of vocabulary as possible. So if you have words on your placemat that you think are quite ordinary words that a lot of people will use, try to make your writing stand out more by using more ambitious vocabulary.
Hit subscribe if you'd like to follow my vlog for more updates on teaching, reading and studying.